and we'll all unravel and we go back into our habits, don't we? But the skill comes when we identify that, and then we can start to make those measures and those steps to try and, again, to regulate our nervous system and bring us back into those healthy intentions that we want. Hello and welcome back. Now, just before we get started, if you're watching this on the Total Somatics YouTube channel, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and press the notification bell. So whenever an episode is released, you find out very quickly. And also, if you're not aware, if you go to YouTube and you type in the YouTube search bar Heidi Hadley TEDx, you can find my TEDx talk in where I discuss the subject of pandiculation. So please do check that out. Give me a thumbs up, a comment, and share with anyone that you know it will resonate with. Well, here we are, a new year. If you're watching this on when it's released, it's obviously the start of 2025, and it's been a few weeks since you and I have been together online. So I hope you've had a good restful time. We've had a nice time here. My husband and I, because it's summer over here in Australia, we headed over to the beautiful Kangaroo Island. So it's one of our favourite places. We just catch a 40-minute ferry over the water here in South Australia, and it's like the Galapagos Islands of Australia. It's got all this wonderful wildlife. It's just so beautiful. So the reason we love going there, it's so peaceful. We just got stars everywhere, animals that you can just enjoy and go for lots of hikes, and we've just got beautiful coastal walks too. So we felt very refreshed after that, and that's because for us, our way of recharging is back into nature. We basically grew up in the Worcestershire. So when we lived in the UK near the Cotswolds, so we lived in nature. We had lots of pets, and that's what we find really recharges us. So with that in mind, as a bit of a theme, I wanted us to consider, as it's a new year and many people have all these healthy new intentions, what is it that you find helps to recharge you? What could you bring in as that intention for this year? And what I want to do is just consider this, because without sounding too much like a negative Nancy, by the middle of January, most people's New Year's resolutions or intentions have kind of just fallen by the wayside. So middle of January, it's always known statistically as the time when all those things drop off. So what I'm encouraging us to do is look at what we feel we need to recharge and see how we can weave this into our life so that we can create sustainable lifestyle changes. So what I'm considering and encouraging us all to consider here is that the best approach we can have is to create these really small, actionable steps or achievable steps that can be sustained. And what we want to look at is how we can manage that by also regulating the state of our nervous system. And the reason I share that for is that many times we fall off and we fall back into our old habits and our default patterns because often things have started to unravel. We've all been there and we will continue to be there because none of us are perfect, and we'll all unravel and we go back into our habits, don't we? But the skill comes when we identify that, and then we can start to make those measures and those steps to try and, again, to regulate our nervous system and bring us back into those healthy intentions that we want. So for instance, things that could impact our intentions or our goals and our focus for the year from here beyond is maybe that we've allowed ourselves to become very tired. So maybe we're skipping a few hours and our sleep hygiene's getting affected, which means that we are easily stressed and overwhelmed when that happens. Our immunity starts to drop off. It's amazing. If we don't really keep an eye on our sleep, that really starts to have an impact on everything else. And as a result of that, we then start to resort back to our old habits. And it could be consuming caffeine or sugar, or maybe alcohol, processed foods. Maybe it's cigarettes, maybe we're vaping. Whatever we feel are our habits that are not serving us well, we will fall into those if we're not regulating and taking good care of our nervous system. So let us consider somatically or internally what we can do to take a step back and address what is happening to us, and how we can then ensure that we're bringing back our healthy daily habits and rituals. So I'm going to ask you, first of all, what are you doing to help with keeping that routine with your sleep? Do you make sure that you switch off screens time a bit of time before? Have you started to notice if you're just binge watching and staying out for a little bit longer into the evening. And then that knocks you back, because we need to consider how those little bits of habits, and that could be a habit that we need to just knock off and develop a little bit more, is instead of binge watching and staying to way over midnight watching things on a screen, could we reduce that time? Are we maybe watching negative TV or reality TV, which has a very toxic, bullying, sort of gossipy, unkind, fault-finding approach to it? So when we feed our subconscious with that, our mindset will start to shift. And then that can just make us feel very negative or looking for the negative. And then when that happens, we don't feel good in ourselves when we realize that we're having quite a critical, unkind attitude, not just to ourselves, but maybe in our speech to others or in our behavior. And maybe are we looking at what are we doing a lot of the time? Are we consumed in very busy life and very busy world? Can we find a time where we can just stay and go into a quiet area? It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't have to go on a big holiday. Those sorts of things are nice, but it's what we can do individually. So maybe there's a little seat out in the garden or outside the office or somewhere that we can just step away from the busyness and just sit there and absorb ourselves in nature, really enjoy that nature. So I want you to encourage you to look at what recharges your batteries. Is it time in nature? Maybe people like to swim. Maybe people like to go to the gym. Maybe it's hiking. Maybe it's having a soak in the bath. Everybody is different. So look at what recharges your batteries and see if you can weave that in. Because if you weave that in and you feel recharged and rejuvenated, then you'll find that it's easier to maintain those healthy habits, because our regulated nervous system allows us to continue to focus on those healthy intentions. And again, when basically our rituals, our key rituals that we wanted to bring in, when they drop off, we do refer or revert back to those old comfortable habits. And, you know, you might think they're comfortable, but they're probably not really serving us too well for our well-being. So I'm going to ask you to consider, and I don't know if you do this, but my husband and I do this every year. We've done it for many years. And so I'm going to encourage you to be involved in our yearly thing that we do. And that is, do you have a word or a couple of words that can be your theme for the year? We've chatted about it, and the two of us like the word connection. So we're using that as our theme for this year. So I've written a couple of little notes down here, so I'll look down to share with you, because when we were looking at how we can use the word connection to help focus on our intentions for the year. So I've put here, because the two of us work 4 days a week. So that's how many hours or days that we work in the week. And when we're not working, we do a lot of volunteer work. So that will consume a bit of our time too. So we need to make sure that we have daily rituals so that we can spend time together and we can spend it outdoors, so that we can actually find that we are revitalized and ready for when we're back at work, and also present for people when we're doing any volunteer work. So once a week, we will spend several hours in wildlife in our local areas. So we're very fortunate where we are. We've got lots of kangaroos and koalas, and we've got a lovely reservoir, and we've got other places that we like to go for hikes and walks. And for us, just finding, we've got our favorite little place where there's a tree that's kind of just a log now, and we'll sit there amongst all the kangaroos and just peacefully, quietly sit there. It's like a form of co-regulation with them and with us. So that is what really recharges us. And we'll just sit there listening to the kookaburras, that sort of thing. So again, that's what we do, and we make sure that happens, and we spend several hours, everything's kind of put to one side, and that is our time. So we allocate that because that's very important for us. But also what we want to do this year is also focus on connecting with other hobbies. So we like nature, but we want to do more of, say, photography. So we like to combine one hobby with another. So there's that connection of bringing them together, but then also connecting back into our hobbies and interests. And I've reached out, and if you know me personally, if you haven't already, I'll be reaching out to you to make more of an intention of reaching out to friends so that we can do more together. And that would maybe be involved in nature. So one friend, we will catch up for a beach walk. Another dear friend, she has some lovely magpies that come into her garden. She's like hand feeds them now. It's incredible. So all those sorts of things, it just really regenerates and revives inside. That's all we need, is just that. But it's the connection as well. Human or social connection is so important. And so that's really what we're wanting to consider. And I'd love you to consider, what is your word for the year? What's going to help to take care of your current and your future self? So ours is connection. And again, I'd love you, if you want to share your word in the comments below. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do. Or if you want to send it to me privately, because it might give me an idea for what our next year's word will be. But it's, again, when we have a theme like that, we see how we can weave things in and notice things that would come into our keyword for the year. So our word is connection. So this is what I'd also like to do, is use that word in this way, and it just so happens to flow, to connect with you in another way as well. And that is that very soon I'm going to be holding a 7-week course. It's going to be an online course, and I've been invited by the Shift Network, which is a wonderful organization. And that will be available to watch wherever you live in the world, and you have the opportunity to watch either live or watch the replays. So I will leave the details in the link here below this episode. So there'll be information in the show notes. But if you want to, just go to Google and type in Heidi Hadley, the Shift Network, and you will find my course. So it's a 7-week course. However, before that, you will also have the opportunity. There's a free 1-hour workshop that I'm holding with the Shift Network that's coming up this particular week. So have a look out for that. It's around, I think it's like the 18th, 19th of January, 2025. But if you click on another link that I'll put in the show notes below, or again, just put in Google Heidi Hadley, the Shift Network, you will actually then find all the details of the 1-hour free workshop that I'm holding. And then if you register for that, you will then receive information for my 7-week course. So there's lots of ways you and I can stay connected. And also just listen out, because in our next episode, I'll be sharing another special announcement. And then in the episode after that, there is another special announcement. So it's this time of the year where there's lots happening, lots of exciting things happening with Total Somatics. And again, you and I, part of my theme word for the year, you and I connecting again online. So I love hearing from you. So keep all your comments and questions coming my way, because I love reading them, and I love getting back to you either privately, or I can answer your questions through future podcasts. There's lots of ways that you and I can stay connected. So yeah, look out in the show notes here below for this episode on the Shift Network for my course. 7-week online course, but there'll be a 1-hour free workshop before that. But again, if you're not too sure and you're listening to this and you can't click show notes below, whenever you get the chance, go to Google and type in the Shift Network Heidi Hadley, and you'll get all the details there. So until next time, all my love and all my very best wishes. Take care. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you for joining me today. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and also forward this on to somebody you know will benefit. To learn more about pain relief, plus how to improve your health and well-being, go to totalsomatics.com. Until next time, take care.